out from the elections that were being held would be credible. So even before the ballots were counted, they had spoken against the process and went ahead to declare these two people as president and general secretary of the association. In fact, when I waited for the ballots to be counted and the electoral commission to go ahead with the declaration of the results, what we had is that the Dennis Apiala Ampofo was able to make 824 votes, representing 78.18% of the votes, and also Joshua Opi had 160, making them president and general secretary elect, respectively.
So just before I get to Ernesto, so from what you gathered on the ground, the outgoing general secretary declared Kwesi Echiahini and another as president and secretary, right?
Exactly. That's the information that I was able to gather from the ground. I went ahead to ask why the NUGs official Twitter account had gone ahead to declare these people as winners of the election. And according to the outgoing president, Mr. Boachi Yadom, the general secretary, Anthony Joshua, has the NUGs account, and he is in charge of their posts on social media. So because he had already gone ahead to declare the two as president and general secretary elect, he went ahead to post such information on social media. That's why the NUGs official account had these two as winners of the election.
Now, were there two different countings of ballots, or there was just one collation going on?
From what I did on the ground, I saw just one counting. That is the counting that declared Dennis Apialabi Ampofo and Joshua Ope as president and general secretary, respectively.
Okay. Thank you very much, Naya. Just hold on. Let me get to Ernesto Iyabua. And Ernesto, you are involved in student activism, and you're still a very someone who's still involved even in national activism today. I just want you to look at it from your days when you were involved in student activism and leadership till now, where the very institution tasked to be the voice of student seems to be dying out and engaging in the very thing we're doing at a national level.
Well, Winston, good morning, and good morning to your oneness out. What we should understand is that these student elections.
Ernesto, if you could kindly reposition yourself, we seem to be losing you.
Is the line better?
I think so. Let's try it and see.
Let's try.
Okay, go ahead.
What I'm simply saying is that these elections, far from being student elections, are actually elections by the political party. That's the MPP, the NUGs. And so when you fail to look at it within that framework, you may end up saying that a disorganized student front.
Ernesto, please, let's call you back. You know what? We'll call you back shortly. Please bear with us. We'll get back to Ernesto Iyabua. He's been involved in student activism, just like Raymond Akwa has been. I never met Raymond at NUGs anyway. Yes, Raymond.
I'm retired now. I've been retired for a very long time.
Retired before you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
What Ernesto is saying is completely true. Let's not miss it. And I said earlier that this is a fight between the MPP and the NDC. It actually goes down there to the point that the MPP will elect their candidate and the NDC will elect their own. Sometimes
that was some time ago. Sometimes they did it like that.
No, they in fact, yes. I mean,
but
not long ago.
Now.
No, it was only last 2 years that there was a reprieve. In fact, and I did not think it will last. So far as the political parties determine who should be there, and the people are convinced that the guy is not legitimately representing us, they have used so many machinations to get to this point. Let's be fair. Sometimes they will say he's not even a student any longer. And they stopped that problem by saying that national service people can't even contest, and it became worse. By saying that they can contest, virtually everybody got the opportunity to now be part of the election. All that you require is you and I agreeing that we should push you. Then we'll go and tell the political party on one hand that this is our man. We want him to contest the election. If he wins the election, he will not do any press conference to attack us. He will not say anything against us in government. He would only be doing our bidding. On the other side, the other group will also go and tell another group that, oh, this is our man. Sometimes even ethnicity plays a role. They will just go and tell that, oh, he's from our end, so he's one of us. He's one of us, so you have to push him to make him be the NUGs president. He will attack government every week and every day. Whatever they'll do, he will oppose it. He will actually do more demonstrations to make government unpopular. Mindful of all of these, governments then get the chance to actually intervene. Then the opposition too is intervening. So on the front, these are fronts for NPP, NDC elections. Once in a while, and I must say, once in a while, there are legitimate candidates who are not funded by these two.
Let me get to Ernesto Yeboah, and he was making that point earlier. Yes, Ernesto, I think the line is better now. Please go ahead.
Yes. So I was saying that far from looking at these elections as student elections, these are political party elections. They are elections between the NDC and the NDC. And I can recall that, in my own days at the University of Ghana, weeks before we would even go for vetting, we have had information that the ruling, which was the NPP, was planning to take us out of that election. And so what we did was to get another candidate to also fight, so that just in case I was vetted out of the process, that candidate would then have our support. As it was planned, we went for the vetting, and then I was taken out of that process. And then we quickly mobilized and threw our weight behind that candidate that we had planted. Now, this candidate was to obtain a vote of 50% plus one. Even though he led in that election, he was unable to obtain that 50% plus one, which then meant that he had to ready himself for the second round. Just before we would enter the second round, the university issues a notice that, hey, when this individual was level 100, he was involved in examination or practice. For that reason, not contest in student election. Now, long story short, students saw how the establishment was doing everything to ensure that their choice or their popular will does not manifest. So it led to chaos, and the rest is history. And so it's important for us to view these occurrences within the space from the political lens, and also to understand that there are other elements such as the ethnicization that has also procured itself in there. I recall that at the height of examination paper leaks at the University of Ghana, for instance, we came across this information that the Vice Chancellor's son was at the heart of the sale of these examination questions. Even before you get to the exam center to write your exam, it has been posted on the notice, but that's how blatant it was. And so we constituted an organization called the Concerned Students of Lagos. And one of the leaders was Okujetu Ablakwa. Immediately, we organized a press conference and had popular student support and all of that. The following day, the Ashanti Students Union convened and then said that, look, one of the leaders in there is an Evan. And so it is important to see it for what it is. That this cannot be something that they have to overlook. And the Vice Chancellor we are asking to resign is an Ashanti. And so what we saw was that the actions within the student body had all turned coats and were speaking against us. Just the following day after, that's the Ashanti Students Union meeting, the MPP branch on campus also converged. That's the TEFCON. And then they said, since it is an effort in question, it must also be seen that an effort cannot be a member of the MPP. Therefore, the course we are involved in cannot be an MPP course. It is certainly an NDC course. I mean, I may say it's to the discomfort of my good friend Okujeto Ablakwa, but he could easily have actually been a member of the MPP. But because of some of the, things that we today he was the NDC. So the students' movement has lost its bite. It has become a moribund institution that doesn't represent the student interest any longer. What we have is a robotic type of leadership. They don't look in the midst of payroll strikes, infrastructure strikes, elections, general hardships in the country. All the student unions are quiet.
Yeah.
Look, it's dead silent. I mean, this is not normal, especially if you want to look at the history of the student movement in Ghana and the role, the crucial role these bodies have played. They have changed government, they have mobilized society, they have been the conscience of our nation for a very long time. And so this is where we are now, where what you have are occupational leaders. Just the idea of occupying the position, I'm not secretary, is their achievement. And that is what they carry on into their CV. So this is who I was when I was a student leader.
Now,
beyond that, they don't feel that they owe the student body any obligation to represent them, I mean, in their supreme interest. So has also led to a situation where politics at that level is no longer inspiring. We have lost the culture of solidarity.
Ernesto, these occupational leaders that you talk about, these politicians that you talk about, clearly should not be leading students, because at the student level, you expect the interest of students to be supreme. How do we get NUGs back to that level where the interest of students reigns supreme?
I think we've lost it to a large extent, and it's important that we also make that admit, and perhaps begin the encouragement of rival student organizations in the country. Organizations that can then speak up and take up the cause, I mean, of the people when it is needed the most. But to think that NUGs as it currently is, and the general student body as it currently stands, would, on their own initiative, that's taking on the interest of the people in the way that we saw in the past. I mean, it's not going to happen.
But so these rival groups, I mean, how sure are we that they're not going to be another NUGs?
Well, it is better than silence. It is far, far better than silence. I prefer a noisy student, movement to one that is dead silent to every problem or issue or challenge that our nation is facing. And is that not what we have opted for? If it's a democratic space, then we should be able to tolerate and allow, that to happen. But it has to be on the initiative of students themselves.
Okay,
that we are no longer going to subscribe to the National Union of Ghana Students, we are constituting a new national student body to which we would pay dues and expect that that organization represents our interests and our interests alone.
All right, Ernesto Yabo, but you know that one of these rival groups was what led to the emergence of GNUGs, for instance. So then you had Ghana National Union of Polytechnic Students. I'm sure now it would change to Technical University students, but they've also become silent.
At some point at a GRASAC Congress, we almost took a decision to take GRASAC out of NUGs.
Yeah.
That we cannot be marred in the rather partisan leadership of the younger association.
Well,
the more matured group.
Well, let me get, in 2006, you had Richard Nyama at the time, a member of GRASAC, contesting to be NUGs president. But let me get Ernesto's take on this. Because Ernesto, we've seen GNUGs. They're also silent.
Yes. And so when they get silent, we change. We build another group. I think we must pleasure in maintaining the consistency of a vibrant student movement than allow them into moribund silence. That, I can't accept.
Okay.
The student movement by its nature has to be vibrant, it has to be radical, it has to be extreme, it has to be the loudest voice, of reason and of the conscience of the people in the country. And so when you have a student body that is dead silent, it is dead. And so that is, for me, what I'm looking at. And I feel that our democratic culture would appreciate that aspect of national engagement. Because I can't think far. When Tewu on strike, students are quiet. You start on strike, students are quiet. E-levy, such a wicked, tax. And yet, the student body is quiet. So I would prefer, a rival student organization that takes on these issues and have a position on all of these. Look, Ukraine, Russian, war. And to date, we don't know where the students, stands on this. It's so shameful. So we have to revise our notes and perhaps go behind some of these students to ensure that they do what is proper for our nation.
Ernesto Yabua, thank you very much for joining us. We're grateful to you. And thank you also, Nanaya Ojima, for joining us.
There were some of us who had some general rules that if the candidate, if a government is in power, we vote for the candidate who doesn't support the government in power. The principle was that at least that candidate, the ultimate interest will be opposing. Ideally, student leadership, your business will be saying that government, what you are bringing, 50%, take it down to 10%. It is because we need them to fight for the interest of Ghanaian students. That's why some of these things happen. So throughout my active years, 2006 to 20, whatever period, I have always been on the side of the candidate that is opposed to government. And it was for a simple reason. Because, you see, it's always difficult. Let's not pretend. If you are with the government, there's no way you'll be called to order. You will not be able to be principled and stand on your feet and fight for the people like you're supposed to fight for them. And I'll make this last point. The current problem with student leadership is a problem with civil society in Ghana in its entirety. Let's look at it properly. The Ghana Bar Association, they do partisan elections too, even though they don't say it. Beneath all of the people that are campaigning, they draw the line. People go, lawyers, to go and vote for whichever candidate that suits their political leaning or thinking. At the end of the day, when they are finished with that election, you check the posture of the people that get to lead them and how they engage government. If you have a boisterous, active leadership of Ghana Bar Association, you know that this is not the one that government procured. If you have the ones that are just issue lame statements and pretending that nothing happened in this country, they know that this is the one that government procured. On the other side, even the leadership of the Christian Council itself, If you have the leaders for Christian Council, that is virtually only praying for the state and not seeing anything happen in the country, you know where that problem is coming from. It is the reason why, in fact, it is because of that leadership of the Christian Council that Benny Woods group came up. Because they felt that they were being pliant accomplices in what was happening in the state. It's the same way that the Ghana Bar Association is getting some rival group. I don't know what they call themselves now. I heard that they are launching some group.
Law Society of Ghana?
Yes. It is for that simple reason.
I met a group of lawyers.
Yeah.
Who told me they were behind the Legal Society of Ghana.
Oh, okay.
I think so. And they cited reasons which you have cited. They said and this group that I met, when I met them, they told me that, look, when Mr. Lawyer Boafo came to them saying he wanted to be the president, they told him they were going to vote for him, but he should remember certain principles and the reasons why they were voting for him. They believe that after he was elected into office, and he was contesting with Ifwa Gate, who's the wife of Joe Gate. So, I mean, at least you would expect that you go for the other person. Because Ifwa Gate is with Joe Gate. That's this. But unfortunately, they are unhappy with his performance and so have done so. But the point is that, look, when we do this, so watch this carefully. Today, you have a group that is against the current dispensation because the current leadership seem to be in bed with the administration. So the group that is against this particular administration is also saying we're breaking away.
That's true.
Now, should power change hands, the ones that today are saying we are breaking away because we're not happy with you,
they'll be the government.
I ain't going to be
the other group has to be the opposition.
The government is going to influence the main group also to have its member there. It's symptomatic of our political system.
There's something
we don't like dissent. We don't like dissent in this country.
That's true.
So whichever government is in office,
we want to
instead of
everybody,
allowing people to actually say, look, you're not doing this right, you believe you should do this right, we think that is making government unpopular. So we'll spend everything, including our scarce resources, to ensure that we influence every election in this country, including JCR elections.
That's true. And you see, some of the people who, to be fair, have been even in NUGs leadership are the ones who pay for JCR candidates. In some small corner, you'll be wondering what interest you have in a JCR election that have no impact on anything. But the other point we should note is that ideally, these are pressure groups. By their very nature, pressure groups mount pressure and pursue the interests of the groups they belong to. To the extent that they are pursuing the interests of people outside the group, they rarely are no leaders and do not understand the pressure groups they belong to. So if NUGs, whose interest is to pursue the interests of young people and the students in the country, and have conscience to be able to go against what is wrong, today there's a conversation about winning universities of what they call it, public support. NUGs quiet. Today, there's a conversation about major issues happening in this country. The major civil society groups that have been very vociferous in times past are no longer pressure groups today. Now, they have been pressured into silence. If you recall, Sam Jonas said something about their silence. That why is it that all of these relevant groups have no longer the conscience of society and telling truth to power? Then it was later responded by Professor Atubwa, who said, well, he has started. He's calling on the Ghana Bar Association. He's calling on the churches and the clergy to equally join him in doing what is right. It is because when they become compromised at the top, the people they are representing are no longer their interest. So interest group has no longer become the collective interest of the body. It is now an external interest. Let's not even leave out. There was a time in this country where the GJA president issued a statement and said, investigative journalism should not destroy Ghanaian businesses.
Yes.
It was most
preposterous.
Yes. How is that conscionable? That the GJA president is for business interests and not journalists.
Talking about that, the GJA should even having another election.
It is what happens when your interest is transported to somebody else.
The
when you go to vote for somebody and the person pursues a different interest, it's the most painful thing that's happened. Anyway, there's something called political science. They call it GONGO, Government Non-Governmental Organization. That's how some of these organizations have become. They have become extensions of government in various forms.
Well, thank you very much, Raymond. But let me say happy birthday to Mavis Jan. May the Lord lift you up always. Have a fabulous day. And that's from Araba Kumsin to you, Mavis Jan. Happy birthday to you. Well, there's more after these messages. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
The feeling of being the champion of the famous childhood game, Pilolo, is like knowing a secret that no one knows and using it to your advantage. That is the feeling of being on Ghana's favorite network and getting your money's worth. With Airtel Tigo, you can get exciting tailor-made products and services that work for you. Dial *111#, select option 1 for big-time data to enjoy data that doesn't expire, and option 4 for Sika Koko to enjoy huge data at little cost.
Airtel Tigo, life